Hi, everybody. Welcome to our episode. I wanted to let you know we are sponsored by the Institute of Metaphysical Science, and you can go to their site at https://scientificmetaphysics.org. And we're here to talk to you today about reaction, being a reaction machine, and all of that. And so we're going to start with a little bit of a story. So the story is, and it's something that I've been looking at and working with Mom on all week. So with Betty, or she's over here, Betty. So anyways, so the situation is this. So I have a business and I had a client, and that client last week, unbeknownst to me and total surprise, sent me a letter basically saying that we were in breach of contract and they were canceling our service. And so I looked at that and I reviewed everything, and I'm in the process of writing a response to their letter. And I can see that we actually are not in breach of contract. In fact, it's what they said is absolutely not even true. And so that just made me angry. So I started to look at this with Mom because I kept knowing that, only perfection going on, all that. And yet, it just makes me angry. So I'm just saying, we're using that as an example. So I stand by and I look at it and I move on. And there's some moments where I'm really free and there's other moments where I'm really pissed off. So any rate, so that's kind of setting the stage for this. So over to you, Mother Betty.
Sorry. Yeah, well, I want to kind of put reaction into a context here. We live and move and have being mentally and always have. So any tendency to react is all in the paradox. It's all the human feeling about something. It's all an aboutness. It is not fact. It's fiction. Mm-hmm. It's dealing with language that doesn't exist. It's dealing with the way it looks, not the way it is. It's misleading to you if you buy into the look. And you do buy into it when it makes you angry or defensive or upset, all of that. And so everyday human living involves a lot of so-called reactionary living. So we thought it was a good time to talk about it a bit, because when we are standing by seeing that what's actually fundamentally going on is the infinity of mind self-expressing, reflectively present as man. And then we have this label that we get to play the game of human living with. So my label is Betty. Kim's label is Kim. And the Betty and the Kim have all kinds of things going on, busy lives and so on, just like everyone else. So when something comes along that is a problem, that is an upset, that causes concern or anxiety, the distress, the concern, the anxiety are all the what do I want to call them? Instigators of unwell, instigators of not good, instigators of something's wrong here. So it takes you away from who you are. And as you go with that picture, the problem can become worse. If you can look at that picture and step back as a student of metaphysical science and say, wait. There is just one thing going on. I don't know why it looks this way, but there's just one thing going on. And it's whole, perfect, complete, fulfilled, joyous, free, all of that right now, right in the face of what I call a problem.
Right. And I have done that in my better moments.
Yeah.
In my other moments, I have had where I had a really restless night, and I had to really look and say, well, what is it? Because I know that I can stand with my head high over how we delivered and all of that. And that will all come out in my response and in the facts of the situation. And when I really looked, I was like, well, heck, it's kind of a real chunk out of my revenue every month. And that's just not right, darn it. Cause we earned that. And, so that's what really where it hit was like, wow, that's really a chunk out of our revenue every month. And so that's what I started to react to. Then I just started to get angry again, but anyways, and then I let it go. Right. And then I'm fine. So it comes and goes is all I'm saying.
Well, living your science is always a moment like right now. And it doesn't last, mostly because we're looking at the 24/7 view that we see in the mirror. Mostly that we're reckoning with a happening that we think is going on out there somewhere with other people that are not I, and they're not being responsible. They could be out of integrity. We got all kinds of things we could accuse them of. But the thing is that what's up for question is my own wholeness, my own integrity, my own willingness to be all and be responsible.
Yep.
And in the recognition that all is infinite mind and that man is not something separate that can go off and do this or that or something else, but man is the reflective presence of the God idea. Mm-hmm. When I can live that, even for an instant, I have an instant of freedom. And then I remind myself again, and I stand by with the facts and say, now, it looks that way. I don't know why it looks that way, but I know that all is well and that I cannot be infringed upon, damaged, etc., because of this one thing going on.
Right.
All this infinite mind right here, right now. Another little moment of freedom. But you have to maintain that for yourself. You have to stay present to who you are. It's a discipline to live science. Mm-hmm. But the freedom and the response mechanism of living your science is that you're not a victim of the picture.
Right. So in your book, Mind is the Athlete, you say each one's present level of discernment manifests in appropriate language. Yeah. So this is my level of understanding, my level of discernment that's having it show up like this?
Well, it is, yes. Yeah, the answer is yes, it is. But what you have to look at is...
Maybe funny to you, Mother. It's not funny over here.
What I have to look at, for me, for instance, is that somewhere in my daily experience, I'm living as if there were a million things outside of my own being. Mm-hmm. And I have to deal with them, and I have to argue with them. Maybe I have to be good. I have to be a certain way. Yep. All of that stuff, as if trying to make Betty be better would make a difference. Yeah. And Betty has nothing to do with what's going on.
Right.
It's just a piece on the board playing the game. But the rules of the game are that all is infinite mind.
Right.
Full, perfect, complete right now. Nothing occurs that isn't reality present.
Right.
Standing in perfection. Nothing is going on outside of consciousness. And right. So living consciousness freely and saying, well, I don't know why it looks this way, but all right, leave it alone.
Right. And in your book, Mind is the Athlete, you also say all form is evidence of reality, capital R, of facts not found in form.
Yeah.
So it's all perfection functioning is usually what I go to. It's all perfection functioning, showing up the way that I've got to see it.
Well, the way that you do see it at the moment.
Right, but I've got to see it this way. I can see it no other way.
what you've got in front of you is the opportunity to let go of all of the hurt and upset connected with that picture.
Mm-hmm.
And say that, I don't know why it looks that way.
Right.
Or it would say, the hell with it.
Right. And then walk on.
The facts of being are what I'm acknowledging. And the acknowledgement of the facts of being removes me from the immediate confront.
Mm-hmm.
So that I have a moment of peace, a moment of okay, a moment of ability to walk on a step or two. But then it comes up again because it's right there in front of me 24/7.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge to allow it to be and to be who you are. That's, that's as clear as I can say it at the moment, but it is true that we live mentally, that all is infinite mind right now, looking just like this, looking like the world we walk through.
Yeah.
What we take responsibility for is not allowing the world we walk through to come at us as if it were something separate and could do harm or upset us or
right.
Like
so
that.
Then what is it that causes the upset? Because I think the picture is causative.
Yep.
Okay. I'd buy that. I think. So another statement that you make in Mind is the Athlete, the facts exist, but the concept of those facts has no existence aside from that given by the one living the concept.
That's right.
So in my situation, then, I'm living the concept of what's going on with me, right? Mm-hmm. So, and the facts exist, the facts of being.
Yeah, and the concept view that has you in a state of upset is because you have lost sight of the facts and have bought into the fiction.
Okay. All right. So I think they're really out there doing something to me or trying to cause me harm.
Yep.
Okay. Got it. And that's not the case. It can never be the case.
But when I said to you, this is an interesting point that was helpful. I said, well, you have to look for the value. And you did. And what happened?
Yeah. Well, the value is that when I go into these sorts of agreements, a lot of times I have a program and it's a high-end program and we talk about it up front and I talk with the client, but I don't have them sign. I have them pay. When they pay on the payment page, it has what they're agreeing to, but I don't have a formal contract that I have them sign. And that is changing with this. So I will never again have another client that's at a high end like this that doesn't have an actual written agreement and contract in place.
Yeah. So that's something that as you grow to become a large company, larger than you now are, that could be problematic on a big scale.
Yeah.
So it's valuable to have you put that in place right now.
Right.
Okay. So if it took this to do that, fine.
Right.
Because if everything had gone along dreamily, you'd say, oh, I don't need that.
Well, most of them have, and we've had good success and all of that. We have very few where we have very few clients, if any, where we've hit the mark, and there's always hiccups, right? But when you hit, and they're loving what you're doing, and all of a sudden out of the blue, you get this email or this notice, you're kind of like, what? And then followed by subsequent actions. And when we reviewed the whole situation, we could see that we had done nothing but deliver on that contract. And do what we needed to do. So it's an interesting situation. So when I look at it, I just think, okay, well, there you go. It doesn't matter. I just need to have all those protections in place so that I don't have to go through it.
It's a way of being responsible in your actions with language.
Right.
It's also very tempting to think that the language concept that you have called a client has integrity. They don't have anything.
Right.
Honesty, they don't have that. The language concept has nothing.
Right.
Nothing at all. So things have to be in order.
Right. Got it. Yep. I mean, well, that's one of the things. And then also in your book, you say understanding and acknowledging the facts of existence opens up capital R reality. So
Yeah.
say that another way. Like for me, what I'm hearing is when I'm clear about the facts of being and my divinity, that the world sort of opens up. There's a whole freedom that opens up, and then I can see what's happening, but I'm not of what's happening. Does that make sense?
Well, your language reports to you. And when it reports to you that all is well, you know that you're standing in the facts pretty well.
Right.
When it reports to you that not so hot here, things are getting upset.
Yeah.
Then it's saying to you, you're standing in language, is what it's telling you.
Right.
And the language is going to let you down.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to disappoint you. It's going to try to upset you. It's going to lead you down the primrose path.
Right.
So how do I say that? You really are the whole thing. You're the well-being, and you're also shooting yourself in the foot when you're standing in language instead of in your well-being.
Right.
Well, I've lived this stuff for a long time, and I get into stuff of one kind or another that challenges is the same thing. But I have worked with this science over so many years that I know when I get the clue that I'm standing in language, I just say, whoa, stop it right now. And it happens often. It isn't like it goes along for years and then I have a little something. It comes up every day.
Right.
We're every day working with the view we have of ourselves and having everything challenged that says that view might be fine, but it's not who you are.
Right.
Who you are is God being reflectively present. And you got this piece to play in the game.
Right.
And you call it Betty. And when you think Betty's significant, you're in trouble.
Right.
Because you're playing with something that isn't true. And if it isn't true, it's not going to hold up.
Right.
Your world falls apart with that stuff. And the falling apart looks like sin, sickness, and death, Mrs. Eddy says. So what I've discovered is that when I have a great concern, a big upset, an anxiety situation, I know that I'm letting myself in for a wild ride. It's time to stop right there and say, what's going on? What are the facts? What do I know to be true? Otherwise, I walk right down the primrose path. 2 and 2 is 5, and I'm going to live with it. And you know where that gets me?
Right.
I'll never be a math teacher with that. I won't make any,
Right.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that if those of you who are listening, if you have any comments or questions, please enter them into the chat or into the comments box. We will get those. They'll be a little bit delayed. We will respond. And if you're liking this conversation, you can give us a thumbs up or give us press the heart button in Facebook. So whichever that is, we would love all of that. And again, participate if you have something to say or you have a question to ask. I also see I think this is the next one, from Mind as the Athlete. In every situation, regardless of appearances, reality is what's present.
Yeah, it's always what's present.
Right. It's the being. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
And the next one goes right with it.
Right. Power and presence exist in the discernment of fact.
Yeah. The time that I have power and authority in my living, it's when I'm living the acknowledgement of facts. When I'm believing in fiction, I've got the opposite response going on.
Right.
And it goes on unpleasantly is a wake-up call saying, Betty, get back on your 2 feet here.
Yes.
So yeah. And then the challenge is to keep returning to the facts.
Yeah.
Because every time I look up, I've got tons of stuff going on.
Right.
And to live that this is all the evidence of my own omnipotence, my own omnipresence, my own allness, if I can go that way. And it's all consciousness present. Consciously aware is where you have to go for freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, Margaret Laird said in Government is Self-Government, when my self-divinity moves me from one dimension of awareness to another, and I feel sick, anxious, unhappy, it is because I am believing that something is happening contrary to my wish and will.
Yep. That's pretty self-explanatory.
I know, but it is happening contrary to my wish and will.
Mm-hmm. But 20 years from now, whatever the value was that puts in place right now,
right,
you're saying the best thing I ever did.
Right.
And you grow it for yourself. It doesn't come out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I got that. She also says in Government, infinity does everything once, never twice. And to that right now, with what I'm looking at, I want to say, thank God.
Well, it doesn't mean
but
something.
I know it doesn't mean that, but that's what just came up for me to say. But yeah, it's always fresh. It's always new, and it's new in each instant.
That's right. And it's never repeated. It's never a makeover.
Right.
It's never an improvement.
Right.
It's always a brand new what.
Right. And that's what gives the space of miracles. Because if you look one way and the next day it's like, what? And you think it's a miracle. It's because all things are new all the time.
It's right.
Yeah.
You know what? We kid ourselves about healing. We think something has made a disease go away. No, the disease never existed. It's the seeing of perfection that has it show up. That moment is gone. This one is right on target.
Right.
And this one's on target. And here's another one going. Do you know?
Yeah.
But it's always new and different.
Yeah.
Entirely independent of anything we've seen go before.
Yep.
Yep.
And then Mary Baker Eddy in Science and Health says, creation or revelation is ever appearing and must ever continue to appear from the nature of its inexhaustible source.
Yep. That's right. The being is always being itself being.
Mm-hmm.
And it continues to do that because it's inexhaustible and it is the source. And the source in action is what we call man. That's my being. The action of the God idea is all there is to me. And that's a powerful lot going on.
Right.
That presence and that power is the winner, if I can put it that way, of the race.
Mm-hmm.
Playing around in language is a dead end.
Right.
So on we go.
Okay, and we move on to Science and Health, Mary Baker Eddy. The seed is in itself only as the divine mind is all and reproduces all as mind is the multiplier. Unpack that one.
Yeah, well, we think ideas come out of the blue.
Yeah.
Well, they don't. The seed is in itself. The flower is in the seed, or there would be no flower after I put the seed in the ground and put water on it.
Right. Okay.
Where the flower comes from.
Right.
So the seed, the source, if I can put it that way, is perfection. Man is the presence of the God idea in action.
Mm-hmm.
All of the ingredients, if I can call it that, of perfection are present, calling itself Betty in daily living.
Mm-hmm.
Betty is being a two-legged animal. That's all gone. She's not living that at all. When she wakes up to the facts of what's really present, what's really going on, things shape up. Well-being is evident. Affluence is evident. Health is evident. On we go. And all of it has all of the negative look in the paradox, in the concept.
Mm-hmm.
If I play around in the concept, I get to enjoy all that stuff.
Right.
But if I'm being myself, the presence of perfection in action. On we go.
Yep.
And it is a discipline. And I tell you, at every level of living it, it's effective. You can try it for yourself in any situation, and to the degree and really proportionate to hanging in there with the facts of being, you will experience in your own life peace and joy and power.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what's going on.
Yep. And then you have this one quote from Science and Health saying, mind and its effects, sin, sickness, and death, act, react, and then come to a stop.
Mm-hmm.
They are not facts of mind. And one of the things this has me think of is that it is, things appearing, disappearing, reappearing all the time.
Yep.
It's like there's this act, react, and stop. It's like appear, disappear, appear, disappear, appear, disappear. And it's that ongoing. And we think that there's continuity. We believe there's a continuity, and really it's appear, it's act, react, stop. So what's the next act? Can be anything.
It's the God action.
Right.
It's God being.
Yeah.
It's mind functioning.
Right. But it's also could be anything in the human level of belief. But
this thing that you just read is perfect description of infinity.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Appearing, things appear, disappear, and reappear, and the reappear is the next what? And it has no past.
Yeah.
It's not a done over thing from the past. It's brand new. It's like Mrs. Laird used to say, every day is the world made new. Every day is a new beginning.
Right.
Every moment is the world made new. And every moment is the world made new, is a new beginning.
Yeah. We have a comment here from Deborah, who said, reminds me of what Saint Teresa of Avila said, let nothing disturb you, let nothing frighten you. God never changes. Whosoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices.
Excellent. Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah. So then the last little bit here is actually a quote from John Erskine. And what's the name of that book?
He wrote a book called The Moral Obligation to be Intelligent.
The Moral Obligation to be Intelligent. And in there he said, the body travels more easily than the mind. And until we have limbered up on imagination.
Our imagination.
Limbered up on our imagination?
Not on. Until we've limbered up our imagination, we continue to think as though we had stayed home.
Okay. Well, it got typed wrong. So I will correct it right now. So it's not on, it's our. And then I'll put it back up. Hold on.
Thank you.
So
I'll read it again.
The body, I could read it. The body travels more easily than the mind. And until we have limbered up our imagination, we continue to think as though we had stayed home.
Yep. That's not taking responsibility for our being.
Mm-hmm.
That's sleeping at the switch.
Yep. Yeah. So what do you want to say? We're wrapping it up. So what would you say as a closing statement for today's episode?
I'd say recognize the clue when an upset or concern or something, some anxiety comes into your experience, that is really a wake-up call. And it's saying, who are you being? What are you trusting? What are you relying on?
Yeah.
What are the facts present? What's the fiction? Because when you can detect the fact from the fiction, you've got one step right in the right direction.
Yeah.
Standing in the facts is the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. And so with that, we're concluded with our episode. We will be here again next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, and we'll see you then. So look at whether you're a reaction machine or whether you're trued up with source.